Hi, good afternoon. This is Mr. Cassidy. I'm just going to go over the project we're doing on indirect measurement and the three ways you can measure your objects. So let's go over the overview. So, first up, your job is to find some object, like I'm going to refer to it as a tree, but something tall, a tree, a light post, a building, something that you can't just run a tape measure up and measure. So, let's say minimum, I don't know, 14, 16 feet, something like that high. And so once you've found that tree or object, your main goal is to find the height of the object using indirect measurement. Your second main goal is to complete calculations, and there are going to be three different ways to find the height of that tall object. Finally, you'll put all those things on a Google Slides presentation, and you'll present it to the class. Note, you don't need to present all of your math. While it does need to be in your Google Slides, you just need to present the overview and the major answers you found in the project. Let's dive into the first method. So prior to today, you should have completed all these measurements in your notebook. I'm going to zoom in on this one, the shadow method. Earlier, because of the sun, it forms a shadow, and you can use that shadow to calculate the height of something tall. Let me go ahead and change this. You should have three different measurements written down. First, you should have the length of your shadow to your feet. Next, you should have your height all the way to your feet. It does help to have both of these in inches. Last, you need the length of the shadow of the very tall object. Length of shadow. Now let's see how to form our ratios and calculate the height. For my example, let's pretend I'm going to use my height, 5'11". And since I'm 5'11", I'm going to go ahead and convert that to inches. Let's see here. That's no, 71 inches in height. Great. And let's pretend that right now, I don't know, it's getting closer to midday. And let's say that the length of my shadow is more like, I don't know, 55 inches. Finally, I measure the tree's shadow, I mean. And I can see there, oh, this tree's shadow is something like, I don't know, 129 inches. Now my goal, to find the height of this tree. Because the sun, and in this case in my drawing, the sun's right here, it forms two triangles, forming the same angles, making them similar triangles, which we've been learning about in math. In order to do this, remember we're going to try to write two fractions, big over small, using the corresponding parts, equals big over small. Let's start with the big height that I do not know. That's the height of this tree. I'll call that x. I'm going to go ahead and call that my numerator for my big over small ratio. Well, this side corresponds with the height of me, 5'11", or 71 inches. So I'm going to put x over 71 because those are the corresponding parts. Both are the height of their respective triangles. Next, I need a big over small ratio of another part. So I'm going to use the base of the triangle, which is, in this case, the shadow. 129 is the numerator, and the denominator, the corresponding part, is 55. Great. We've set up our ratios. we're ready to calculate the height of this tree. We've learned how to cross multiply in class. To do so, we circle diagonally to partner up these numbers. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply these and keep an equal sign between them. So I do 55 times the x equals 71 times 129. I'm going to go ahead and pull out a calculator for that. 71 times 129, 9,159. I'm going to go ahead and replace that side and keep the 55x, bring that down, divide by 55, and I'll round it to the nearest tenth. The 55s will cancel out, leaving me just with the tree's height. I get 166 inches, 0.5. To understand how much that is in feet, I could divide it by 12. 13 point, rounded 9 feet. Eh, close enough to the requirement of a 14-foot tree. Notice 13.9 is not zero point 0.9, that's not 9 inches. That'd be 13 and 9 tenths of a foot, which is probably more like, I don't know, 10.75 inches. We can just leave it in inches for our answer, but it does help to understand in feet about how tall that is. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to move on to your second method to calculate the height. Here are 3 more numbers you should have from your work in class. You should have the height to you or your partner's eyes. In my case, I'm going to just subtract a couple inches off the top of my head. Let's say, I don't know, 4 inches. That might be too much. Let's say 3 inches. So in that case, instead of 71 inches tall, I'm going to be at 68 inches. Next, I measure from my feet to the mirror. If you're having trouble with doing this, you put a mirror on the ground and you just walk backwards until you can see through the mirror the top of the tree over here. This will also form similar triangles. All right, so you measure from your feet to the mirror. Let's go ahead and say for this case it was, I don't know, 88 inches long. Then you've got the length from the mirror to the top of the tree here and the base of the tree. From the mirror to the tree, we might have, and I try to put it right in the middle of the mirror here or wherever the person can see the height of the top. For this case, I don't know, let's say it's 210 inches to the base of that tree. Once again, we're going to make some ratios and find the height of this triangle or tree. We'll call it x. In this case, x corresponds with, again, the person's height. This would be a reflected and dilated triangle. So I'm going to write x over 68 because that's its matching side. And again, I'm going to do a big over small ratio of these two triangles. So I'm going to go 210 over 88 because those are the corresponding sides. Once again, I cross multiply. 88 times x equals 68 times 210. I'm going to go back to the calculator. So 68 times 210 is 14,280. 14,280. Next, I bring down 88x, and I'm going to divide by 88 to find x. Here, divide by 88. I get 162.3 inches when I round. And once again, I'm going to just see what that is in feet so I can see if I'm close or not to my last estimate. So I'll divide it by 12. 13.5 inches. That's fairly close. Sorry, 13.5 feet. So that would be about 13 feet 6 inches. You have one final calculation to make, and that's the picture method. Here, this is a picture of me standing next to the tree. Let's pretend I'm standing really close to the tree and the photographer took a good picture. You should have recorded just one thing here, the person's actual height in real life. So that would be, in my case, 5 foot 11. And I'm going to convert that, as always, to inches. So 71 inches. Great. Here you can see to do this work, I might get this photo, put it on maybe Google Slides already, or go ahead and upload it to a computer or a bigger screen so you can really look at it. Google Slides will be fine. I'm going to go ahead and measure each of these things using this ruler, and you should do this in class because the ruler will be provided for you. Let me go ahead and grab that one more time. Not quite enough of it. Last try. Excellent. All right, first I need to find my height in millimeters. So I'm going to line up the 0 of this ruler. Now you'd actually hold up a ruler to the screen. Notice I'm using millimeters this time because it's a lot easier to measure. Here I've got 1 centimeter, 2, 3. So that, and then I'm going to add, looks like maybe 2 or 3, right about there. So I'm going to say that's about 33 millimeters here is the height of me in the picture. 33 millimeters height in picture. Next, we need the height of the tree in millimeters in the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this and bring it over. I bring this over to the base of the tree and measure it to the very top here. All right, we're at, looks like 6.5 centimeters or 65 millimeters height of tree in picture. Great. We're now ready to create our similar triangle measurements. For the sake of this, I believe the person is no longer there. Unfortunately, yeah, they've disappeared. Well, let's go ahead and just move this out of the way, and we can imagine that here I am again. All right, so we have my actual height, and we have the height in the picture. We have the height of this in the picture, but we don't have the actual height. We'll call that x. So the corresponding parts here would be x, which is the actual height, has to match up with my actual height. So that will be my ratio. My actual height is 71 inches. This will get the tree's measurement in inches. Now for millimeters here, I'm going to go ahead and put, again, I need to start from the same object. And in this case, I'm starting from the big object. The small object is me. So since I'm doing big over small, I want the millimeters of the tree in the picture. So 65 over 33. The whole key is setting this up correctly. X is going to be multiplied by 33, and 71 is going to be multiplied by 65. So 33x equals 71 times 65. I'll use the calculator again. 1,615. Finally, divide by that 33, and we get, oh, and I should have probably written that out, 33x was equal to 65 times 71. And there we are. That's how I got the 4,615. Then I divide by the 33 to cancel that out, and I get the actual height. In this case, I get 139.8 inches. Okay. I'm going to divide that by 12 just so I can imagine what the feet are looking like. Looks like I got about 11.7 when I round that. A little bit less than my other measurements, but then again, this picture was not an actual picture of me with the tree. All right, the final calculation I'm going to do is just this. I need the average of my three methods. So to find the average, I'm going to find the sum of those three methods, and then I divide it by the number of measurements I found, which was three. So the last one was 139.8. Let me copy that here. 139.8, the picture method. I'm going to add that with my two other calculations. 162.3 and I'll add that to the last one, the shadow method. 166.5. Then I'm going to take that sum and I'll divide it by 3. All right, let me just use the calculator for that. We've got 139.8 plus 162.3 plus 166.5. Hit enter. This gives me that sum. 468.6. And I'll divide that by 3 to get an average height using the three methods. Dividing it by 3, I get 156.2. This is going to be what I estimate as the height of this tree. Once again, I could divide that by 12 to get its estimate in feet. Looks like it's about a 13-foot tree. Great. Now that I've done all that work, I'm ready to compile my presentation. You should go over to Google Classroom. I've created the blank slide platform you see here, and it's in your name. Make sure you add your partner's name as needed. Notice I've got include a picture of the tall thing you're measuring using indirect measurement. So somewhere on that slide project, you might want to take a picture. Here it is. And copy it. You can share it from your phone or use a Chromebook to take it. Next, go ahead and paste that on your Google slide. There it is. All right. Next, shadow method. Include a picture of your math work. Include a picture of you with your shadow. Answer using this method. How tall is the object? You can hold up your notebook to take a photo of the work. Just try to make sure it's as clear as possible. And remember, what you want to do is get your actual work here in the assignment. So I might take a picture of this math right here, and I'll go ahead and copy it and paste it on my Google slide. There it is. This way, when you're graded, I'm really going to grade you on how well you did with the math. Did you show your steps here? Did you arrive at the correct answer in inches? And you should probably convert it to feet just so you understand what we're talking about here. Also, if you can, include the picture that you made of you and your shadow next to the object. Here, I might copy all of this and put it even in my presentation. At the very least, a drawing of you and the measurements that you used would be appropriate here. Great. I would probably clean this slide up, make it look a little better, move on. You get the picture. Next, mirror method, same thing. Last, picture method, same thing. Then you've got your average height. This should include the picture of your work here. You could also use a Google drawing tool. There's a few other ways you could draw online if you want to use something like that to draw, or you can just write the work on scratch paper and take a photo. Last, before you conclude, you're going to answer these two questions. Does the height make sense to you? Why or why not? And last, how would you use indirect measurement in the real world? Find 2 or 3 actual uses that this math school could be used to apply and actually help with heights of really tall objects or distances. Think about it. All right, when you're done, you're going to present and you're just going to show us the overview. You don't need to explain all the math involved in the multiplication and division, but you should explain your answer and explain whether or not it makes sense and go over your conclusion slide. That'll do it for this project, and I know you guys will do great. Thanks. Have a great math afternoon.